The first thing to realize when considering offshore banking is that it's very similar to banking down the street. You can view your account online, you can transmit wire transfers in and out of your account. Many offshore banks have debit cards associated with the account that you can use to buy groceries, go clothes shopping, pay bills with your card, etc. Hi, this is the Business Guy, and today we're talking about how to open an offshore bank account. And can you please help me out by clicking the like button below so YouTube promotes this video? Thanks so much. You can text the link of this video to those who need it. And you can also click the subscribe button so that when more videos come out like this, you'll get notified. I've been in the company formation and offshore banking industry since 1991. We have full-time attorneys on our staff, and over a period of 3 decades as of this video, we have built the largest organization in the country and possibly the world that establishes international companies and bank accounts. I've walked down Bahnhofstrasse, the street with the largest number of banks in Switzerland, and have had close relations with Swiss bankers for over 16 years. We have relationships with banks in other parts of Europe, North America, Asia, South and Central America, Australia, Africa, and I personally know the CEO of bankers in the Caribbean and the South Pacific. I've met with multiple prime ministers and premiers around the world, as you can see from pictures on our websites. Now, who you use for your offshore banking needs is very important. After all, this is your money we're talking about. You don't likely drive the cheapest car you can find. You don't want the cheapest offshore services you can find either. For example, you might ask somebody who sets up a Nevis company if there are any taxes due. They might say, no, Nevis is tax-free. What we would say, however, is that there may not be taxes on offshore companies in Nevis, but people in the US, Canada, UK, Australia, and many other countries tax worldwide income regardless of where you earn it, thus saving you possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars in penalties and fees. My purpose with this video is to make the most complete and comprehensive video on offshore banking on the internet. And I hope it informs you, and if needed, gives you the comfort to set up your own offshore bank account. Now let's continue. As you know, a local account does not consist of little pieces of paper currency stuffed into a cubbyhole with your name on it. Your bank account is simply computer data on the bank's network that is backed up on servers around the world. Should you travel to another country on vacation, you will still be able to access your account, withdraw funds, etc. Likewise, your bank account overseas consists of computer code likely backed up on the exact same global computer network as your friendly neighborhood bank. So it does not matter whether you bank down on the corner or on the other side of the planet. Either way, your money is in the same place on a global computer network. Offshore banking safety. With regards to bank safety, keep in mind that there are international financial standards that banks must meet. That is, before a bank can accept depositors from abroad, it must pass certain financial stress tests. For example, before a bank in Belize, Nevis, Cook Islands, Switzerland, or the Cayman Islands can transmit wire transfers in US dollars, it generally needs to obtain a US correspondent bank. Obtaining a correspondent banking relationship carries certain requirements. For example, it must prove to the US institution that its financial strength ratios comply with strict international standards. Moreover, it must continuously pass these tests in order to maintain the relationship. Additionally, there are rigorous government regulations within each one of these jurisdictions. One hard and fast requirement is that banks must maintain substantial capital reserves in order to ensure depositor safety. Moreover, regulators continuously audit the banks. This helps to ensure that the banks remain in compliance and to uphold the reputations of these popular financial centers. There are restrictions on the number, amount, and security required for bank loans and investments, and there are quarterly reporting requirements. Plus, bank officials must pass intensive background checks before they can obtain a directorship with the institution. Banking regulations. There is an international regulatory framework for banks. These are standard to which all banks must comply in order to transmit funds overseas. It accomplishes this by making sure that a banking institution has a sufficient amount of high-quality liquid assets. These are assets the bank can easily and immediately convert into cash. Banking offshore is very common. Over 2.7 million US citizens reportedly have offshore bank accounts. Offshore banking is not just for the top 1%. Offshore banking is available to anyone and everyone wanting to take advantage of the various benefits. These benefits affect the average person and can greatly improve your daily banking experience. Gone are the days of thinking of foreign banking as some distant idealistic tax evasion scheme to hide your domestic assets from the government. On the contrary, it is legal, moral, and ethical when done properly. Moreover, it is a real, viable, and sustainable option available to all willing to take advantage of it. With the American and European banking systems over-leveraged at best, you may also want to look at these reasons that we will discuss below. Diversification. Banking offshore offers currency diversification for your savings. Very few domestic banks offer options for holding diverse currencies. Holding assets overseas in different currencies allows one to take advantage of jumps in currency fluctuations. After the 9/11 disaster, I know many people who opened Canadian bank accounts and converted US dollars to Canadian dollars. Many made a handsome 30% profit as the US dollar tanked and the Canadian one strengthened. So holding various currencies can diversify investments and offer a higher return in certain market conditions and lower risks. It is also pertinent to consider that while the U.S. was in a recession in 2008, Asia's market was booming. Limiting your business domestically restricts you. Going offshore can help you take full advantage of the favorable international banking laws. In Switzerland, for example, the banks are also the investment management firms. Swiss banking comes with some of the top money managers in the world, so a financial planner in the institution can suggest a portfolio that offers a great combination of growth and safety. The U.S. limits the number of trades in which a trader can participate. Trading offshore removes that cap. Better interest rates. Banks in the U.S. typically offer very low interest on deposits. For example, at the current market rates, if you deposit $1,000 US in January, you will make less than $10 interest for the year. Some may feel satisfaction or even thrill to make any amount on their savings at all. However, when you compare that to some international banks, you can find some significantly higher interest rates on your deposits offshore. We are talking enough interest to make you set up an offshore account just based on this benefit alone. Move money quickly. Along with diversifying your assets, having even a small offshore account allows you to move your money quickly. Offshore account holders have the flexibility to move their funds if needed. For example, you may be in a situation where you need asset protection from lawsuits. Why is that important? Here's why. What if you cannot withdraw your funds quickly? That is, you may have a lawyer in the line behind you who wants to freeze your account until the bank hands it over. So having an account offshore ties the hands of your opponent. You can quickly move your money and or have your offshore trustee step in to protect you. Misconceptions. Perhaps a more common misperception of offshore banking is hiding assets from the tax man. In reality, this is rarely true, as offshore banks are typically transparent for tax purposes. That being said, there are some ways to maintain limited privacy when utilizing an offshore account. Any American transporting $10,000 US in cash or more at one time must report it. It is possible to have an account under $10,000 without reporting it. You do, however, need to report if you are a signatory on a foreign account. Nevertheless, we highly recommend you speak with your licensed tax advisor. Countries with the safest banks. Another reason for setting up an offshore bank account is for a more secure banking experience. The Federal Reserve System that backs offshore banks is in turn backed by the most debt-ridden country on the planet. Global Finance magazine, for example, releases a list of the 50 safest banks every year. Guess how many major U.S. national banks were on the most recent list? 1, and it was last place, 50 out of 50. As of this video, the only remaining American banks on the safest list are 4 tiny farming banks, as they list number 35, 44, 46, and 47. That's right. There are 34 banks in the world that are safer than even the safest U.S. bank. According to Global Finance, here are the countries with the safest banks in the world: Germany, Switzerland, the Netherlands, Norway, France, Sweden, Canada, Luxembourg, and South Korea. Of the above countries, only Switzerland and Luxembourg will open accounts without the need to travel to the country. The minimum deposits are substantial, and the banker will eventually come to meet you in person. Internationally, however, it is easy to find banks in low-debt countries that don't and won't gamble with your money. Consequently, they're able to keep more cash on hand for your withdrawals. When you put it in terms of investing, where would you want to park your money? In a company that's swimming in cash or one that's drowning in debt like the U.S. government is? Countries such as Switzerland and Luxembourg have strict central banking regulations. They implement checks and balances on all bank accounting practices. Many other offshore banks and countries have similar systems. These systems help to ensure that people who are looking to bank offshore can do so safely and soundly. Greater security. Additionally, many asset protection experts say when you bank offshore, you are less attractive to lawsuits domestically. This is especially true when you hold your bank account inside of an offshore LLC, an asset protection trust. That is, if you tie up a chunk of your assets with these structures that hold your offshore accounts, they are much harder for your opponent to seize. Keep in mind, it is more difficult for somebody to freeze your accounts in a snap if they are sitting in foreign banks. For long-term security, experts recommend holding your account in an offshore company and/or trust. Holding funds in these tools not only give privacy, they can also offer substantial legal protection if a court order demands repatriation of the funds. So it is essential to ask an experienced professional to find the best bank for you. Now, this is a service that our organization provides. We know which banks will accept foreign clients. We are also keen on which banks we feel are the strongest and safest and which offer the most attractive services. Now, here are some things to look for. Availability for American clients. Now, not all banks will accept American, Canadian, and European clients. You will also need to provide the legally required Know Your Client documents. Other banks require that you visit their bank directly to open up an account. That said, some of those banks have domestic branches. Therefore, some will allow you to set up your overseas accounts through the local branch. The problem is that U.S. courts have jurisdiction over the local branches. So it is important to use a bank that does not have corresponding U.S. locations. U.S. regulations. You must report all worldwide income. This applies even if you pay foreign taxes on your income. Keeping money over yonder and only paying taxes when you bring it back ceased in 1964. Large corporations with broad shareholder bases can get away with this, but not an individual or closely held corporation with U.S. owners. Safer offshore than onshore. As time goes on, in fact, it seems the question is less, is foreign banking for me, and more, is domestic banking right for me? This isn't some fluke. This is a direct result of a shaky banking system. It is a system backed by a government in debt. A government that is burning through people's money. Certainly, the question is no longer about whether offshore banking is safe. The question we should be asking is this: which secure offshore bank should we use for our personal, legal, and business and financial benefit? Protecting your money from divorce, lawsuits, and legal battles is another reason. You can open offshore bank accounts in the name of offshore companies to provide maximum privacy and security. These tools offer mountains of protection compared to simply opening an offshore bank account. Give us a call and our staff attorneys and consultants can discuss them with you further. The jurisdictions that offer the most privacy for the owners of offshore companies are not necessarily in the same jurisdiction as the best offshore banking account providers. One may drive a Mercedes automobile, but that car will not have Mercedes tires. It will more likely bear Goodyear, Firestone, Continental, or Michelin tires. Likewise, you'll want to choose the jurisdiction with the best legal tools. Then you'll want to choose the jurisdiction with the best financial institutions that meet your needs. For example, you can have a company on the island of Nevis and bank in Switzerland. Nevis company law offers the maximum privacy of ownership. Switzerland offers the strongest combination of bank safety and financial privacy. So it is critical to establish the right combination for your specific needs. Join the crowd. Offshorecompany.com is the world authority in offshore services. The organization specializes in financial privacy and asset protection plans for a worldwide audience. The company behind it was established in 1906, and we urge any prospective client to seek the assistance of a trusted offshore services coach. You can contact us by using the phone number or website below. Opening an offshore account provides an alternate and legal option to safeguarding your money. And this company has been there since 1906. Keeping all of your money in the U.S. banking system nowadays may not be the safest option. We are told that the U.S. has 96% of the world's lawsuits and 80% of the world's lawyers. Some lawyer walks into a bank with a judgment in hand, and your money is gone in a moment's notice. So keeping some money offshore may be a wise fortress for financial survival. Are you interested in finding out more? If so, we're here to help. There's a consultation form on our website at offshorecompany.com that you can complete right now. You can call 1-661-253-3303. Feel free to take advantage of these opportunities and reach out for help. Please click like and subscribe below. Thank you. This is The Business Guy.